What is up, fellow humans of the cardboard? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, we're looking at TRAPTRIX, all right? Lightning Overdrive, Lightning Overdrive? Lightning Overdrive, Lightning Vortex, Lightning Overdrive. I think that's the name. Am I going crazy? I think I'm going crazy. Yeah, Lightning Overdrive. Jesus, I'm going so crazy. Is out. We have our TRAPTRIX cards. I'm very excited to bring you this profile. This is pure TRAPTRIX, and I might as well start out by pointing out this playmat. This playmat is so clean. You have Ecclesia facing down, Golgonda the Sand Serpent, while on the other side she's being backed up by the Stigmata Dragon. So clean. My guy Charles made this mat. It's really awesome. It's my favorite mat to use as of right now. So if you love that lore, I'll have a link in the description where you can pick up the mat, and also a code that'll get you 10% off as well at checkout. So you can pick up your own and save a couple bucks there, make me a couple bucks on the side as well, and we're all winners, right? Which also segues me into this. I want to preface this video by saying TRAPTRIX Pure is not that competitive. It just isn't. It can win going first. You win some die rolls, you can definitely have some success. But I think generally, this deck really struggles to keep up with the meta. But I still wanted to build this because I love TRAPTRIX, even as a pure deck. And I hopefully, sooner rather than later, will be able to get my hands on Dogmatica and Amazement cards to be able to build you a more competitive version. Because I do think the engine can be competitive, just not by itself. It needs the assistance of other stuff. So I want to segue into that. Just mention that real quick. This is not the most competitive list you've ever seen, but I think it's pretty damn good for what pure TRAPTRIX can be right now. All right. So starting off here, of course, we're going to get into the monsters. Of course, we have 3 copies of TRAPTRIX Myrmeleo, 3 copies of TRAPTRIX Mantis, 2 copies of TRAPTRIX Vesiculo, and 1 copy of TRAPTRIX Dionea. 9 is the ratio I'm running with right now. What's really nice is that before, if you opened any 2 TRAPTRIX, like 1 was definitely a guaranteed brick. Whereas now you have a chance of just opening Vesiculo as one of them. And it immediately becomes, and it's just like an extender at that point, which is really nice. So obviously Myrmeleo is getting you extra trap holes for free and popping back row. Very important right now with how the game is right now. There's a lot of control decks. Mantis is really good, especially better now because she can grab the new girl Vesiculo. So clean. And Vesiculo is also really wonderful because she finally gives you an extender from hand, so you can search her off of Mantis and summon her immediately, assuming you have any trap card in hand, which, let's face it, we will, because we have so many trap cards in the deck. And then you have, obviously, Dionea. I still like having this because if you open Mantis and Vesiculo, Dionea is just a really awesome card to search off of Mantis. That way you have your play for this turn and you have follow-up in the form of Dionea as well, which gives you a really nice, strong normal summon that's going to put a lot of pressure on your opponent on the next turn. So that is it for your TRAPTRIX lineup there. Moving into your other monsters, 2 copies of Parallel Exceed. Nothing too crazy here. You could easily play 3 of this, but I just think playing 2 minimizes your chance to brick on a second copy of it. But at the same time, you only need 2 copies for it to work as, you know, just for its own like engine requirements anyway. So still a good extender. It's just a 1 card rank 4 once you link into Sarah. Very easy to do. You just got to open this with any TRAPTRIX, Hand Trap, or Shade Brigandine, and this card is live, which is, you know, pretty nice. And then for the hand traps, which finish out our monsters, we have 3 Ash and 2 Bell. That's it. I know these aren't the most impactful hand traps in the meta, but I felt like for what I'm really scared of, I think they do a pretty good job. Ash just generally hits most decks straight up, so that's nice. Whereas Ghost Bell is particularly, I play it for Tri-Brigade. Tri-Brigade's a very scary deck, and this is a problem I've run into playing control decks, especially rogue control decks, because rogue control decks just generally lose to better control decks, like actual meta control decks. I had this problem when I played Guru versus Strikers way back when, and I think that's still the same problem. So I like Ghost Bell because it just negates Revolt, and that is the 1 card that like lets them run away with advantage. So as long as you can keep Revolt from resolving, you actually have a good chance versus that deck, and I think Ghost Bell is pretty damn good at keeping that from happening. All right, that is it for the monsters. Then for the spells, 3 Extravagance. That's it for the spells. Into the traps real quick. Yeah, I would consider Prosperity, but I think in pure TRAPTRIX, Extravagance is better, but in the other build, I think prosperity is better, guaranteeing you like pretty much a dig for an engine that you didn't see in your hand. Raise the consistency of seeing something like Nadir's Servant, raising the ability to your ability to see cards like Arlecchino, great powerhouse cards for you, or just getting you to a TRAPTRIX monster if that's what you've been missing in your hand. And then we get to the traps. Obviously, for the trap holes, we're on 1 Gravediggers, 1 Floodgate, 1 Time Space, and 1 Bottomless. Kind of keeping it a little bit varied here because I think there are matchups that really get exploited by one of these, and then there are other matchups that just like don't give a hot shit about that. So I like having them all so that game 1 I don't find out that there's a deck that like I just literally don't have a good trap hole versus, and can like then at some point in the duel search it out and then have something that applies more to them and it'll put in more work. So Bottomless, it destroys, which is tough, but it does banish afterwards, which is really strong. Time Space, just good for any deck that goes into the extra deck, just shuffle it back on summon. Floodgate, I feel iffy on Floodgate, specifically in pure TRAPTRIX, because pure TRAPTRIX aren't as good at putting pressure on the board, putting big damage and running over things. Whereas in the other variant, you have Arlecchino, which can just be a 26 body. It's going to clear most things in defense mode. You have Ecclesia, which can get you to Fleur-de-Lis, and that's going to be a 3,000 beater in the battle phase, so that's probably going to clear something. So it's much easier to like beat your own Floodgate in that variant, but I still think it's really good, especially for stuff like Eldritch, right? Book their Eldritch, it can't be flipped up, it's just stuck there. So you only have to deal with probably 1 other Eldritch for the remainder of the duel. And then Gravedigger's just generically negating any monster in grave, in hand, or banish is actually pretty damn good. So it just covers hella matchups there. Then for our lineup of good generic regular trap cards, triple Dogmatica Punishment, triple Torrential Tribute, triple Infinite Impermanence. I know I could have put this with the hand traps, but it just feels right color-wise to keep it here. Keep that color coordination, baby. And then we got Shade Brigandine and 1 copy of TRAPTRIX. Yeah, I don't think any of this is too obscenely crazy. Like Punishment, you could definitely bash because you're like, John, what if I want to go into the TRAPTRIX Exceed or Link Monster on your following turn, like when you're trying to amass game or just stockpile advantage? I totally get that, but I just think like the alternative to this is like Compulse. Maybe you could even argue like Ice Dragon's Prison. I don't have Ice Dragon's Prison. That's the first thing. But secondly, subbing this for Compulse is just so much better. It removes 2 monsters instead of 1. And destroying stuff is I think, well, I guess it depends on your matchup. It is generally better there. So I'm on Punishment. I don't really know. There's not much else to really say here. I just think it's pretty good to have here. And it protects your Sarah in battle phase. Specifically, this variant is also weaker to just like your opponent trying to summon something and beat over Sarah. If they summon 2 things, you're in trouble. You either have to have Torrential, or in the other variant, if you're playing Compulse will only hit 1 monster, and the other monster just beats over Sarah, and you're kind of just out. Like there's your engine turned off, especially if they can remove the other monster you summoned off of Sarah. So I like Punishment. I think it covers more bases, and I'd rather have that ceiling of this card than like the ceiling of being able to go in more stuff on the next turn. Torrential's insane. One of the coolest things is triggering Torrential when all you control is Sarah, and then wiping your opponent's whole board, and then using Sarah to summon like a Myrmelio, and then pop a back row also. Like that, the value there is like so insane because then Sarah will set you another trap hole. So you just like went +2, and your opponent just went like -4. It's crazy. This card is crazy in the deck for sure. Triple Imperm, it's just like one of the better hand traps right now. Doesn't trigger triple tactics. Really plays into like Appaloosa really well. It's just another card that feels pretty good to play versus like Tri-Brigade because their like end boards are like Appaloosa with a Revolt set. So you can at least just turn the Appaloosa off for free and then like continue on, which feels pretty good. Then triple Shade Brigandine. This card's just an awesome extender. This plus any TRAPTRIX monster is just going to get you a pretty nice combo. You're going to end with an extra trap hole. You're going to end with a rank 4. And you're going to have like 3 cards in hand otherwise, which is really good. And if you open Myrmelio too, you'd have 2 trap holes with that. So really, really strong when that resolves. Feels hard to lose unless your opponent has specifically like Lightning Storm, Evenly Matched, Harpy's Feather Duster, that kind of stuff. And then one trap trick, like we said, just nice to have. This was honestly the last slot in the deck, and I just like that this is a flexible card. This can just trigger Sarah at any point, whether your opponent commits to the board or not. Gets you something like Torrential before you know your opponent has to commit to a play, and now they just stare this down and go, fuck, now I know he has Torrential. Also Punishment, great. Impermanence, great. Or you even just get an extender like Shade on follow-up turns to try and get more explosive with the pushback, which is really nice as well. So just a nice one of. I didn't want to commit to too many copies of that because it can clog your back row. You just end up in awkward situations where you want to activate Traptrick, but you know it's going to turn off like 2 other cards, and you worry that if your opponent has another extender or 2, they could really just put the hurt on you and run away with the duel. Which takes us to our final 4 trap cards. Triple Solemn Strike. This is a phenomenal trap card for going second, especially in conjunction with something like Torrential, as well as Punishment. Those 3 specifically all like synergize really well because your opponent like has to negate a Torrential or a Punishment, and if they attempt to, then Strike just punishes them even more. Really, really powerful card, obviously. And then 1 Imperial Order. I am playing this in the main. I didn't used to play this in the main in my pure Traptrix builds, but I just think we're only playing Extravagance, and like, I don't know, you just have to lean into it, I think, at some point. Like, if you want to play too many hand traps, too many cards that kind of help you play second a little bit better, play Dark Ruler in the main, I think at some point you're just making your strength of your deck just much worse to make your weakness of your deck a little bit better, right? Like you're lowering your ceiling going first, and you're attempting to raise your ability to go second. But I'd rather just lean into that, take advantage of your strengths, right? That's the biggest thing you can do as a rogue deck, and mitigate the weaknesses post side. You know what I mean? Have a really strong side, have it all really mapped out on what you need for what, and attempt to handle it there. But you're playing a worse deck than other control decks, so you just got to do what you can. I think this card is just going to mop up free matches. You just get free wins off of this card. Like Lightning Storm, Feather Duster, Cosmic Cyclone, don't matter. Beats it. Beats them all. All right, so that is it for the main. 40 cards in the main, nothing too crazy. Taking us to the extra deck here. Link 1s, 1 Almirage, 1 Spider, and Triple Sarah. Of course, this is the best card in your entire deck. Still is, always will be, as long as Traptrix is a deck. These 2 are for a very specific reason. It means if you open Parallel Exceed and no Traptrix monster, that means if you open it with a Shade Brigandine, you can still just summon the Brigandine, go into this, and then trigger your Exceeds to still get to a rank 4, which could even be a Traptrix monster, which, well, will be a Traptrix monster based off of when you see what I'm playing. So that you could potentially still make Sarah, which is really cool. And same thing with Amarash. If you open Ash or Bell, you can just normal summon them, link into this, and again, trigger Parallel Exceed and get to some stuff. I don't love playing these, especially with Extravagance, but those hands are like so cringe to look at that like I'm playing these just to like add more consistency, pretty much. Just dodge completely dead hands. Then for Link 2s, I'm on 1 Traptrix Kalaria. This is the new girl, the other new girl. She's really, really good. I love that she's completely unaffected by all trap effects. That in itself makes her valuable because in a trap matchup, you just make her, and she's an 1800 beater that is unaffected by traps. So like, I don't know. I just think about stuff like Altergeist matchups or Guru, right? Like where they just don't have removal that's not traps. You just go into her, and she's just such a problem. She's just beating them down. And then of course, whenever you're activating a whole trap card, they get immediately set back to the field instead of going to grave. And during my end phase, I can just summon a Traptrix monster back from grave in defense position for extra advantage. Summoning like Backham or Melio to pop another back row. Summoning Mantis, which allows me to like dodge my back row, whatever. There's a lot of cool applications there as well. So really cool card, definitely a cool one of. 1 Asa and 1 Phoenix, finishing those. Asa's really cool. This whole deck is Earth, so like reborning like Zodiac or like Tri-Brigades have some Earths as well. Like there's some cool stuff you can revive with this for sure. And it floats in other Traptrix if it's destroyed, as well as Nightmare Phoenix. Phoenix is really cool because it's like other back row removal that's not Myrmelio, that like 1 can cycle a card in your hand, and like when you co-link it with Sarah, they'll both be protected by battle. So again, your weakness with Sarah being easily walked over gets mitigated there as well. So really cool for the Link 2s. I'm not playing any Link 3s or 4s right now. It's honestly just a space issue. with extravagance and like punishment, you definitely have some space crunches here. For the rank 4s, I'm literally only playing Rafflesia and Alomarus. I'm kind of scared playing 1-1 with extravagance. I'll be honest with you. That's why I think Prosperity might even still be better in this list, but I just don't have it right now. So, you know, feel free to take your liberties there. Right, Alomarus is your more offensive option, getting you extra bodies on the field, where Rafflesia is clearly your defensive option, activating trap holes straight from the deck. Really good. Makes you unnibiruable even on your like little combos. Really good. Then for the last 2 exceeds, 1 Zodiac Trident and 1 Divine Arsenal, double a Zeus Sky Thunder. This is just kind of like, listen, if you don't, like, obviously if you're playing this as a like fun, pure TRAPTRIX build, you don't need to worry about playing Zeus. Don't worry about it if you don't have the money for it. Just play another Rafflesia, another Alomarus, because with extravagance, you worry about, you know, banishing your only copy if you need a more defensive Exceed to go into. But I like having this because it means you could just go into Alomarus, attack your opponent, make this, and then just, you know, have another disruption as follow-up, which is really nice. Just a nice boss monster this deck can take advantage of. And Dryden's a really niche play, but it's kind of cool. Zoo's pretty popular right now, whether it's pure Zoo, whether it's Zoo Tri-Brigade. You do see Zoos running around. So what you could do is you could make Asa the Earth Charmer, reborn your opponent's Zodiac monster, and then overlay it for Dryden just to like pop something. And then like link this off or whatever you want to do after that. Is kind of cool. So I just like that. It's just such a nifty play. I just love that. It's not just taking your opponent's monster. It's taking a specific monster that you planned for and now have like extra removal, disruption, whatever, because of it, because you planned ahead like that. I just think it's such a nifty play. And the last cards in the extra deck is just Ntis. I wanted 3 because punishment, and if, like, you know, after extravagance, still hopefully having at least 1 or 2 of these, it's pretty important to make sure punishment's going to resolve with some oomph, because the pop 2 is just too good, especially in a deck like this. Popping 2 to then trigger Sarah just feels like insane. But yeah, that is it for the extra deck 15. The extra deck, of course, again, it's pretty tight, and especially with extravagance where you don't get to pick what you're banishing, like Prosperity, it definitely feels a little iffy having some one-ofs like these, right? And having like the one-offs of the TRAPTRIX Exceeds. I'd like to have more of those. You could easily, like I said, swap these for those. It's just a little tough. I kind of just wish there was a little more space, but even more reason why I like the other version more competitively is like you're not even as concerned as that because you're not even playing as big a TRAPTRIX engine, so it just doesn't come up. You're not linking off Dogmatica cards. You're not linking off Arlecchino, and so like you just don't end up needing those extra deck slots, and you don't have to worry about hitting the wrong stuff, worrying about what to banish when you're using Prosperity, and it works out way more cleanly than this. But it is what it is. I still really like this deck. You can definitely win a local straight up with this. Like win a good amount of die rolls, hit some good side deck stuff. Be smart about side decking. Like rogue decks are one of the kind of decks that you need to be so smart side decking if you want to have a chance to compete with more meta type strategies. But this deck can do it for sure. If you're smart about it, you know what you're doing, you know the decks you're playing against. Definitely doable. But that is going to sum it up for me today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, stay tuned because I got multiple deck profiles coming for Lightning Overdrive. Just kind of working on lists, making sure I'm getting you guys good profiles, stuff that I feel confident in, because there's multiple. We're getting a bunch of reveals right now. We're getting Burst of Destiny stuff, or finished Animation Chronicle. We're going to get King's Court stuff soon, new Structured X stuff, all this stuff coming soon. So stay tuned for the channel. Subscribe, of course, and let me know in the comment section down below what you would change about this list if you could. I love hearing your guys' thoughts on that stuff. So thanks again. I will see you in the next video. I love you, and peace.